I am pumped up today to be here with two of my favorite people in the world, Tina Rose, CEO, and Talia Hazard, Director of Donor Engagement, Big Brothers, Big Sisters of San Diego. Near and dear to my heart. I've been a part of this organization. I've been on the board since 2004. I was a Big Brother starting in 2000, and I think it's one of the most impactful organizations in the community, in the country, in terms of what it does for our society. So I'm glad you guys are here. I'm hoping to promote you and get the word out on the good things you're doing. But maybe before we do that, you can kind of just give me a little bit about your background and what you do for the organization. So,
yeah, me first.
Go ahead, Talia.
Okay,
I'll go first. So as Bill said, I'm Talia Hazard, Director of Donor Engagement. I oversee our development department, our fundraising efforts, our events, our fundraising events, our volunteer recruitment, as well as our marketing. So I kind of oversee a bunch of pieces. And I've been with the organization for about 6.5 years.
Okay. And you started in
2015.
In the role of marketing, essentially, right? And you've now literally do everything.
We just keep giving her things.
Keep giving her things. That's what happens when you're talented.
Stop being so good at stuff.
Yeah.
I'll do better.
And I met you the year you started as a board member. I started as a marketing person at Big Brothers Big Sisters as well, and then just took on various leadership roles and stepped into the CEO position last August, I guess it was. Mm-hmm. So mid-pandemic, an exciting time to step into that leadership role, but it's been amazing to see what we've done.
Absolutely. I was thinking going into this interview, the last 18 months, what's transformed at the agency. I mean, I remember being on a board call a year and a half ago, and we were in pretty dire straits. Mm-hmm. And here we are today, I think healthier than I've ever seen the organization in almost my 20 years of being involved. Mm-hmm. What would you say? I mean, there's a lot of factors, but if you had to pinpoint a few, what would you say the difference over the last 18 months and how we've elevated the organization and now running it probably like a business?
Yeah, no, I think, a lot of things occurred from just putting our head down and working really hard and focusing on what needed to get done and not worrying about anything else, but focusing on our mission. And then also just an incredible team of people, staff and board, working very collaboratively, very hand in hand to get us to a really healthy place of this organization. And it's been really rewarding to be a part of it.
So the joke's always how long it takes for Tina to cry.
I didn't cry yet. It's close.
But I think I'm going to make her cry. Can you? I think we neglected to just say what is it that Big Brothers Big Sisters does? I mean, we get confused with a lot of organizations, and this will segue into a question for you, Talia. But how would you describe us in a few sentences?
We're a one-to-one youth empowerment organization. So it's youth mentoring, it's one adult and one child, and the impact that can have in a child's life of knowing that there's someone there for them in their corner who believes in them is truly extraordinary. And
Talia, this segues into my question for you is, I've been amazed how hard it's been until really you guys have taken the realm in the last 18 months to raise money for the organization. I think it's the easiest sale in the world. I mean, it's the return on investment for a mentorship is like enormous. What's your difference? Like how are you having so much success all of a sudden raising money for our organization, which we failed to do, and I shouldn't say failed to do, struggled the previous 4 or 5 years?
For sure. I mean, I think the environment is unique right now. Kids are struggling probably more than anyone during this time with just really unique circumstances around the pandemic, right? So a lot of single parent homes in our program, mom's working, kids are isolated. There's, super unique circumstances. And I think that really resonates with people. I think people are really eager to make a contribution or donate their time. So I think the story, like you said, sort of tells itself. It's super compelling.
Right.
Our job is to leverage that and tell that story, but it's really been the community who's stepped forward and really showed up for us in a really meaningful way.
And how do you manage the donors? Donors and board members, I feel like that's elevated too, and that's been a game changer for our organization. Do you have a strategy process? or is it just very natural for you? I think I know the
as far
answer.
as stewardship, is that your question? How do we steward? And
that's why she's CEO. She knows the words.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think part of it is natural. I think we're lucky that our name is so well known. People know what we do, so people find us and they want to support. But also, it's a matter, as I said, of telling our story in a really impactful way and keeping people in the loop of how their support really is, in an ongoing way, really making a really big difference.
And we think of Big Brothers Big Sisters as a family. Our bigs are really big brothers and big sisters are part of this sort of big family, but also all of our donors are part of that family.
Right.
All of our staff, all of our board. So it's really that collective effort and that feeling of we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
What are you most proud of over the last 18 months?
Surviving.
Each of you.
Surviving. That's a good one. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, who I'm most proud of is our bigs. Our bigs have really leaned into their roles in the last 18 months and really shown up for their littles in a way that they haven't had to before. So, and we're seeing the impact of that, in the stories that we're hearing from our families and just how incredibly impactful and resilient our littles have been as a result of their bigs being in their lives.
What a great comment. I'll let you answer it, but I think, I've been so focused as a board member on our survival and our financial security, but it is our bigs that have really stepped up.
Absolutely.
And you, what would you say? You can't use her answer. What's your proudest moment?
Proudest moment. For me, it's our littles' resilience. They absolutely persevered through and continue to persevere through a really difficult time period in our history. And we're impacted more than anybody else. Here's where the tears come. But it's because of their resilience that inspires the bigs who are in. It's mutually, it's a mutual benefit, right? You as a big, I bet, would say, I got just as much out of it as my little. And that is so critical, but they're inspired by their little's resilience, and never more than this time in our history.
Right. In terms of leadership, you were both, again, essentially thrown into leadership positions quickly and in a desperate time. What mentors or help did you have along the way that you kind of look back and say, oh geez, thank goodness for that?
Yeah. For me, it's definitely leaders in the past who I admire, that I try to emulate still. One of them being Paul Palmer, who was our president for 10 years of our organization, and was a dear friend. And then I still currently have a mentor who I meet with monthly. I think that's really important. I also mentor. So both those things really help balance out my leadership.
Yeah. How about you, Talia?
The leaders that I think about that have been sort of most impactful to me and most motivating and inspiring have been those who are really willing to kind of roll up their sleeves and do the work of every member of their team.
Right.
Not just, regardless of title, they
work.
Exactly. They're just, and, we're a well-known organization, but we're still grassroots in a lot of ways. So I definitely take that approach myself, and just really understanding every aspect of my whole team's sort of roles and ensuring that I'm right there in the trenches with them.
How do you motivate your employees? Nonprofit's an interesting space, right? And generally, employees are lower paid. They're passion-based workers, but it's a challenge, right? And especially in Southern California, when the cost of living is so high and we have budget constraints, is there tricks to the trade? How do you keep these performing employees so motivated? And I see it. You do. You guys do a good job of it.
We have a lot of longevity at our organization, which we're really proud of, and I think it's because we do have that familial sort of environment at our organization, as well as just that flexibility. So we offer flexibility wherever we can. We offer understanding and empathy, and those things go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And how about on a marketing end, when you're in that forward-facing role and you have, social workers in a lot of ways, right, is your worker. How do you lead in that regard so they kind of understand the importance of outward marketing and fundraising, but yet doing their job, their cause-based job.
Yeah, I mean, as Tina mentioned, so many of our employees have been around for so long that they literally live and breathe the work that we do. So in terms of training that, they could almost train me on it, right? Because they're really the living embodiment of the work that we do.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you foster, especially now, a really positive work environment? How would you say you manage that 50, and I don't even have an answer. I don't know the answer how many employees are in versus not, but how do you keep everything positive, especially after the last 2 years?
I think it starts by being positive and, leading by example with positivity, because negativity really spreads kind of like an oil spill, right? It's invasive, it spreads quickly, and it's toxic. So I think keeping a positive attitude and remaining positive even through really challenging times is critical for our staff to see.
Celebrating small successes is a big thing for us too. Just a lot of recognition and celebrating whatever we can has been super powerful as well.
What's your favorite thing to do at the office or in the job?
Probably sing out loud really terribly with Talia, who can sing really good.
Okay, I know she
but
can.
But when we're really stressed, we start singing.
That's our secret, Dina.
Oh, whoops.
How do you, and I think it's awesome you guys have fun. It's evident. That's why I think that's part of your success is your guys' charisma together. I mean, there's just, you know what I mean? There is that connection. How do you manage, nonprofits are unique because you have multiple stakeholders, right? You have board members, you have donors, and then you have the people you serve. Is it an easy transition from each group for you to manage the different stakeholders? And you may or may not want to answer this. Is there a group of stakeholders that are hardest to manage?
Well, our board, no, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. No, our board is amazing, actually. I feel so lucky to have the board that we have. Because so many have been bigs and so many are invested in the mission directly, so that makes it easy. They get it firsthand. But all of our stakeholders share a common thing, and it's our mission. We're all on the same page with that. So to me, if we keep that first and foremost, things just fall into place.
What would you say your biggest need is in the organization right now? I know what it would have been a year and a half ago, but I think that's different now.
Yeah.
It's different and it's the same. I mean, we are always in need of mentors, right? So we have over 350 kids still in the community who are on our waiting list, waiting for a big brother or big sister, particularly in the inland communities, South Bay, inland North County. And so we're always in need of volunteers. So that's definitely a need that we always have. And then, of course, support to support those matches. It costs $2,000 a year to support a match over the course of a year. So we're always seeking, support in all different formats, be it from, companies to individuals, foundations, grants. Yeah.
So volunteers, big. So that's I mean, you need money to support it, but
absolutely,
we're always in that deficit of more kids waiting than volunteers to
and particularly bigs more in the outskirts of San Diego. So where our kids are living that are on our waiting list. So East County, Central, where our office is, City Heights area, South Bay, and then Northeast County.
Why do you think that's historically the hardest? I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but
finding bigs.
Finding bigs.
We're not just we're not asking for something small. We're asking for them to commit to a year minimum to a child, and that's a big deal at first until they start, and then they realize this is the most fun I've ever had volunteering.
Right.
This is becomes a part of the rhythm of my week or of my month, and once people see that, then it becomes easy. But at first, it does feel like this is a commitment. I'm giving time to a child who I've never met before, and I think for some people that is an obstacle to overcome.
Right, huge. It just on the surface it appears you're investing time and energy and relationship with an unknown, but I could say firsthand it's the most natural and easiest thing you'll ever do. Where do you see, the nonprofit? Again, I keep going back to nonprofit because I'm a big fan. I'm engaged in nonprofit business is so important to me. it's more competitive now than it's ever been, right? Like you're competing for every dollar, and you're competing against so many different factors. Where do you see the nonprofit world going, especially for social service organizations like Big Brothers, in the next 5 to 10 years?
I can answer if you want me to.
Sure.
I am a big believer in collaboration, and I see the biggest advantage that nonprofits have moving forward is building strategic collaborations so that our collective impact is bigger. If we can broaden that continuum of care, so we're starting with children all the way up into adulthood, and we're all doing what we do best, and we're investing in people's lives in different ways, we're going to spread that continuum of care, and we're going to have the biggest collective impact possible.
So right now, it's almost you're competing against each other, and maybe.
I don't see it as that. Yeah, I mean, we are competing for dollars,
right.
But what if we're using those dollars to create this continuum of care, and we each play a role in that?
Okay.
And I think that there's need and room, obviously, for all of these, every nonprofit.
Right. I agree, and it seems like it's happening a little bit too. Would you say, or do you have an example of 2 nonprofits or a nonprofit collaborating with you that you could share?
Yeah, absolutely. We've partnered with the YMCA. We've done, I can name lots of them, but I'll give YMCA as an example where they've allowed our bigs and littles to work out at their gyms or, participate in activities that they have free of cost. And, we partner together to basically bring the community to the YMCA, which is what they're looking for. So it's a really great partnership that we have.
And then kind of in closing, maybe you could, and this is my favorite part of Big Brothers, just give the kind of ROI that we like to sell to donors.
Talia, do it.
Yeah.
You do it.
What a match means for our community. A $2,000 match is what it costs to match a big and a little. What does that mean?
It's all you, Tina.
Making me talk too much. So $2,000 basically means that from beginning to end, where we have the very recruitment of a volunteer all the way to the vetting of that volunteer, meaning background checks and interview and references, to the interviewing of the child and the family, to really what I call is sort of that secret sauce where our staff looks at not just does this adult and child live next to each other, but do they share common interests? Do they have similar personalities? Is there something there that's going to take them through what we hope is a lifelong friendship, and all the way to the matching process, and then being supported by our very critical staff who do the very hard work of making sure everyone's safe, has the resources they need, the trainings, the events, all the fun stuff that comes after you get paired up with a child, and then the outcomes that we see. And we know that there's outcomes. We know because of third-party research, but we also know because we do surveys, baseline, 3 months, year end, and so we're constantly making sure that what we're doing is effective, and that matters to us, and it matters to our donors, but it matters most to our kids.
And maybe you could share some of those outcomes?
Yes, so we see that if a child's matched with a big, they're less likely to do drugs and alcohol, they do better in school, they stay in school, they skip less school, they're less violent, they have better relationships with their peers and other adults.
Right. And I remember hearing a stat a few years ago, and I'll probably butcher the numbers, but they called it the ungraduating class of the given year. So those students that don't graduate from high school cost society billions of dollars in aid. And just cost. So this is the most proactive, preventative program out there to support our community. If you were going to let our viewers know what we need most and how to do it, how would you guys tell them right now?
Well, they should definitely visit our website, which is sdbigs.org. And there's plenty of information there about how to get involved, how to sign up to be a volunteer and learn more. So yeah, definitely check us out.
Yeah, they can. If you don't have time to volunteer, maybe that doesn't fit into your schedule, we're always looking for what we call matchmakers. And those are monthly donors, basically, people that sustain this program. We rely 100% on philanthropy to keep going. We don't charge for our services, so we do rely on the goodness of the community to help support this work.
And Is it safe to say I'm the greatest board member of all time?
Absolutely, no question.
I know you wanted to say it, but you didn't want to. Well, thank you guys for making time today.
You're the best.
Please go online and donate. $2,000 can change a life, and it doesn't have to be $2,000. Any amount will work. So please visit their website. Please get involved. There's just not a better organization for your community, wherever you may be. Thank you.